We are gonna make a little walkthrough this visual novel of ours that we have constructed. As we can see already, the art of the novel consists in pixel art. All the characters and the backgrounds are pixeled from actual images. The images on the background are from a good friend called Alejandro Flores Invernon. And well, here we have our first menu, which if we press that, we actually went for the just one, and we're gonna have a drink. The other one will have ended the game, and we will see, because there's multiple options and multiple occasions in which you can just end the game and call it a night. This is the first chapter, and now if we press see how Tina's doing, we will end up just going home, and the night will have ended. But as that will be quite boring, we will go for the quiet bar, as the other one it's a follow-up option. See, we basically have a story of two friends that are having a night, just enjoying themselves, having a chat. Here we get offered some food. Let's say no, just for case. Now we get the red wine, and we go on. Now, he has come back to offer us a drink, and has said no more. But if we had decided that tonight we were feeling like having some food, when we arrived to that point of the conversation, which is now, he actually gave us some food. And that's basically it doesn't change anything in the whole story. This first part, the whole first chapter, it's just little details as that. As we see again, we can call it a night at any moment with any of those two. But if we feel like playing darts and we wanna keep going, we can, and so we will do in areas of showing everything around. Again, this conversation means nothing for the development of the game. It just gives you context on the village itself. And now we're at the second bar. So again, if we didn't want to talk with David, we could send him away. But again, that would be less interesting than answering any of those. So David has decided to invite us to some drinks. Now we have the option to drink or not drink. The variable drunk, it's the only stable variable in the whole game. There's other ones that are false or true. We will take a look at them later in the script. But this one is the one that it's stable, and by convenience it's called drunk all the time. At the beginning of the game, it's measured by what you drink, and at later stage of the game, it can be altered depending on another type of decisions. For now, let's say that we drink, because we want to increase that level, because what that will do is that it will open new options for us. If you're not drunk enough, this one will not show, and then you will just be a polite citizen. And let's say that you kinda not start a fight, but you're not the politest man in the world. Again, as your partner has noticed that you are playing a little bit too harshly, he's offering you to go home. And you could find yourself like going home and calling tonight, and you will have virtually ended and won the game. But let's say that no, you wanna go on. So, as you wanna go on and you're not that drunk, you can have another one. Again, for the sake of having the most of options, we will take whiskey. Now we can follow two paths basically that will eventually collide. We can go play darts and have a conversation with John, and that's basically it. Or we could meet what will be some of our really good friends for the rest of the game, and meet them already to say hi to Aaron and Wyatt. Yep. Again, as long as this goes, the conversation is not that important for the game itself. It's literally a conversation between friends in a bar. It's trying to be a real piece of life in a sense. Again, you have the option of drinking or not drinking. You don't feel like drinking this time, so you just drop the shot that was offered to you. Now you all reunite outside. You have a little chat, and they comment that they are going to a rave. They, of course, have a proper long chat saying goodbye outside the bar, and they offer you to, if you follow the same road, if you not going to the rave, but just following the same road home. And again, you could say no, and that's it. You go home, and you won. Nothing bad happened to you. You had a good night, or a night at least. But let's say that you go with them, yes. And again, Aaron comes back, you have a chat, and suddenly something happens. And then you figure, again, you need to take a decision. You've seen some people fighting, and you can help, or you can say that this is not your problem. If this is not your problem, the fight happens as it happens without your intervention, and you reflect on it. You consider what you've seen. It's probably a man dying, and you have a hard time at home afterwards processing what happened. Your father gets informed by your mother, and you basically talk about it. And the game has ended again. It may be not the best ending of all, but it has ended quite peacefully for you, at least. But let's say that you feel like a hero today, that you wanna intervene in this hateful accident or incident that it's happening, so you gotta help. There you go. You try to retain the guy, but someone distracts you, and they actually punch each other quite heavily. Still, you're there. What happened here? The backpack, the name of the game itself. At this point, before, when he was supposed to go to help, if you are not drunk enough, you have an option, that is to not leave the backpack behind. And if you do so, even with this term of events, you will go home now, and that will be it. But as he had drunk too much, he hid the backpack because he thought it was a good option. And you find out that your good friend here has given it to someone else. So you try and get it back. But will you? The guy running the car was the same guy that had the fight, and you can decide again, you can let them go, and that will virtually start the second part of the game, the one in which you have to pursue your backpack and retrieve it. And these guys are gonna help you. And again, you could give up you could say that this is it. You can do it anymore. You just need to give up, and you don't feel like it. And this is a game over. You have not only reached the end, but one of the bad ends. It's you lost your possessions. But let's say that you actually took any of those, you will jump to chapter 2. So instead of that, we will still go back a little further and go back to the point when you had to decide if you let them go. But this time we're gonna hold them, and this will start a fight. Another one. You jump to stop one, but now you are in one. So you can go for Robert. Let's go for Robert and throw a punch at him. But you're not a good puncher, and you kinda go to the floor. But let's say that you stay and restrain the girl, and now you play dirty. You kinda outmatch them here. You go for the car, and you all run. You get away safely enough, and you go to sleep that night. And you expect that there's no consequences, but you don't know, but you have messed with the wrong people, and he stabs you. And it's the end for you. So now we will proceed to the chapter 2. And we're back at almost the same point. Intention. So we hold them again, and you realize I had the sound off. There's sound and effects in the game. Yeah, we need to stay restraining the girl, and all the paths here basically are the same. You can hold them, retrain them, and you either will get kicked or you will kick them, but someone will stab you next day. So let's say that we let them go. We let them go, and we decide that we're gonna retrieve that backpack. We are not giving up. So yeah, we go with everything. Then you move to chapter 2. Now, you are angry, and you can be very angry, and maybe you're not controlling yourself too much as your friend is driving, and you don't wanna come to reason, and that was a terrible idea, because you managed to have an accident. But let's say that you are a little bit more reasonable, and David has reason. You should calm down. You calm down a little bit, and you go on. You arrive to the place where the rave is getting held. And again, you can reflect, and the way that you reflect, and if you decide to reflect, will change the drunkenness that you have, or how drunk you are. So he has introduced you to one guy that can help you, that can know someone, but you still have options to just see what the rest of the people is up to. You can be empathic to Wyatt, who lost your backpack, but you can be nice to them. And when they offer you something harder, you give up. You don't want it. And now, as we see, the time to go option has just appeared. It wasn't there. We can go once to see every one of those, and you can go to see Jay and ask him for something to smoke, and you will have it later on in the game to change some little things. Same as with David, you can have a conversation with him and you can kinda fight. What will happen if you fight with David here? You will not be able to recur to him later, and that may be pretty bad for you. But let's say that you play along. Oh, we have click, give up. It's time to go. So we decide to go. We go back to the village, we will go back to Pete's house, play some music along, we try to cheer ourselves up, and we go up to make a call. Someone may know something about where our backpack is. And you decide to go see Tina and to wake her up, ask for her help. Oh well, here we are to make that call. Now you can light the joint or not. Let's say that you light it, it will make you slightly less drunk. And you can choose on the conversation with the phone to let John do the thing or to do it yourself. And of course, if you do it yourself, you will receive more information, because that's kind of the point. If you leave things for others to be done, you will receive less information and less things to do. And you go out from Tina's house and you decide to go. We will go to check the crime scene first, to check where the backpack was lost, because that will trigger some other interesting events on our way back to the mountain, and those events will happen regardless of us going to the crime scene, but in there we will find something that will be very useful for us. So we're going with chapter 3. This is a pretty straightforward conversation. We're gonna skip it basically. We can check whatever we want, but the thing is that this lovely fella here will find an ID that will open some paths for us in the future. Now we have found our enemies, if we can call them that way. They are not enemies, and we try to de-escalate the situation, but you had enough. So you start a fight. If you are drunk enough, you will have these two options: punch J, which take you literally nowhere, but you definitely can, and end up in the hospital. Let's say that you don't punch J, which seems reasonable enough, and you decide that you need a weapon. But what can you use? If you are drunk enough, again, you can use J and use it as a spear against Robin, and more or less you kind of manage, but soon you get overpowered and stabbed. So let's say that you don't use J as a spear. You could use the rock, the stick. Nothing will really change in that sense. Let's say that you're not prepared for this and run away. Try and run away, but sadly again you get stabbed. In here, sadly, you don't have many options to win. Whatever you do, you will end up losing, either dying or having John killed or having you killed or both. You don't really want to start a fight like this on the mountain. But let's say that you jump on Tatiana. This is the most complex path and it's the one that has the most options. And again, you can end up stabbed in many ways. And during the conversation that you will have with her, you will find out little things that move this woman to act as she acts. Again, if you stay there, you will not figure out much more about her. But let's say that this time we wanna de-escalate things, and we insist. Take deep breath after deep breath, and we try to not lose our composure. We keep calm. At the end, they will try to accuse Wyatt of everything, and you may believe them, and if you do so, you can still talk with her. If you talk your way out of the thing. But if for you it makes sense and it has a point, you may end up having a fight with Wyatt later on. Again, now you can talk with Tatiana, get some information from her, and know more about everything. If you are in sync with her, she will tell you more things, and you need to choose the right paths that set your own criteria, really. The right paths that set your own criteria, really. What the best path is. This time we got nothing, and we could try and tell John to stop and not push her, or we can let him push her, and then again we arrive to another path in which she harms herself, and it's sad. But with that we arrive to chapter 4, so like smoke, and we go back to the rave, and you get cold. And at that moment you can again go back home and say, yes, I want to go back home. And then it is. You go home, you get scolded, and you go to sleep. But let's say that you don't want to go home. You don't want to give up. So you go on. And again, in this rave, you have multiple options. Now, you can take a minute to ponder and compose yourself a little bit. Think about yourself, think about the life in the village, so on, so on. But then you go to talk with more people. As we were polite to David is here. If we haven't, he wouldn't be here. So, with him and the ID, we can make a call to that Sergio, which was the guy who was punched in the fight before, and we can ask him for the bag, and he will tell us where it is and who has it. This way we will have the possibility to go and retrieve it ourselves. Now, before we do that, because this is the ending option, we're gonna see Wyatt. If we go see Wyatt, and he will present us to this guy, introduce us into Teller. If you don't blame Wyatt for it, you can go on with the conversation. If you blame Wyatt for the loss of the bag, you will automatically be kicked out. And now it starts where it's a weird piece in which he will start making what seems to be random questions, but that actually some of them lines from Walt Whitman poems or quotes from some famous characters in history. If you happen to know those lines or happen to choose the right one, this conversation can be quite fast. But again, let's say that you choose the longest one, then what would you need to choose? It depends. Depending on what you come on choosing, let's say it's a long conversation, okay, but let's say that we make a little bit of cheating and we actually convince him to help us. If he does, you will have kind of automatically win the game, because he will retrieve the bag for you. It's a tricky conversation, kinda, or I think that it is, but again, it's a way to win. If you go to Fred, Fred is a man full of funny ideas, and you have some options here. This one will just put you into a fight with John and will get you both killed, because you will roll down the mountain. But let's say that we don't take that terrible option, but we still wanna do something. Then we can go for the other option. Take a pill, a random pill. As he says, he doesn't know what it is. But still, you take it. This has unlocked what is called in the script the power of love. It will give you some very random, very bold move options from then on. Some of them can be played in the script before. One of them is for the conversation with Tella, one of them is for the conversation with David and Aaron. But as you have both discovered where Liberio lives and where the backpack is, that it's there, and you have also figured out that Teller will get you the bag, which you don't know for sure, but you can have faith in him. And let's say that for now you just have faith in him and you wait. You wait for him to appear and to come back. You just have a conversation with John, and suddenly he appears. You have virtually won the game, and this way you have skipped a whole chapter. Completely skipped. But let's say that we don't have it, or we don't have faith in him. So we go back all the way and we go pay Liberia a visit. And you wanna go. It doesn't matter what your good friend tells you to do. And this is the last chapter, chapter 5, Ground Zero, No Flight Zone. So there you are. One second. You can run away or you can go on. And you go on, basically. And here again, you have some options. You can first knock on the door and just ask them politely to open the door for you and you keep blue. Very aggressively or politely. You can do it politely. Sadly, the polite option doesn't take you too far away. If you give up, if you have the teller option on, you will go back to the rave. If you don't, you will go back to the village because you will have run out of options. But let's say that we go back to the sneak plan, and you have again a couple of options. If you jump the fence, you basically get kicked out immediately, but you look for an opening. And you actually find one. You find that there's a tank of petrol in one side, a pool, and an orchard. And you see your options, you ponder your options. So, what are those? You have also seen some cars, and you decide that you could puncture the wheels of the car. If you do so, John will go and puncture the wheels of the car, and that will allow you to actually enable one of the fire escape routes in one of these two, that it's setting the orchard or the pool on fire to make a distraction in order to get in the house and get the bag. If you have the power of love, you can call La Vita Bella and just show politely at the house. They will be surprised, and again, your options will be strange, but one of them will actually convince Liberio that you just want your backpack, and that's it. If you do it well, you will just go back to yours, and you will have won. But let's say that we go back. And decide that the best option here is first puncturing the wheels and then setting the orchard on fire. Now, you burn the orchard, and you can decide to, when you're inside, take the bag and run, or look for something else. But let's be a professional this time. The other one just gets you killed, and you again can try and jump the fence or go through a hole, depending on which one you have chosen, and depending on the description that grants you to have an idea of how the place is disposed. You can decide which way you want to go. For each wall, they are alternative. If you go with the pool, if I don't remember bad, if you go through the hole in the fence, you get caught. If you jump the fence, you just run away. And the other way around. You get this time, and you won, basically. You manage. And you can just have an ice cream and go back, and the epilogue is basically you two guys going back home and going to have breakfast with your father, and you explain the whole situation, you explain what happened, and the game ends like that. You reflect on what had happened, you can decide if you regret something or not, but either way, you go to sleep. And if you burn the orchard is on flames. But that's the end of the game. This is the script and how it looks in Ren'Py. This is basically a directory of images and a directory of the variables that are input to be defaulted as false and then change when they are activated. That helps actually to open and close some of the menus, like menu tab it down, wire down, basically changes the options in the menus. These ones are the definition for the character, so you don't have to type the complete name of the character all the time. These are some very basic alignments on the screen that make the characters to be where they have to be. And here's where it properly starts, and that's the so-called variable of the trunk, inputted to 0. Here's how it starts, the scenes, the name that directly links to it. It's a fairly simple code that yet it it allows you to do a lot of things in a very simple way, and well, even if I'm not completely happy on how everything turned out, I think it could be better, and I'm reasonably happy on the result and on the possibilities that RenPy allows you to develop. I'm definitely very interested in doing something else, and probably in polishing this whole script. And my computer has crashed quite dramatically, actually. Yeah. Well, use for the sake of it. This is basically how it runs, and it goes on for 7,000 lines, basically. Well, I do hope that playing the video game it's slightly more entertained than watching these videos. But thank you very much.